Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we are visiting an Italian production that was done in 1987, which is called Stage Fright.
Now, having said that, this name has shown up several times in films. Back in the 1950s, there was the movie called Stage Fright. Quite recently, in 2014, there was a movie called Stage Fright. And there's also another movie in 2020 called Stage Fright.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much a term that a lot of people have used over the years.
Yeah, but anyway,
I mean, it's just another term for
I'm scared.
I'm scared of being on stage. I will forget my lines, or
the
fact that I won't be able to say my dialogue properly because I
may fool myself.
Or I'm afraid of the audience watching me.
Exactly. But I've been on stage. I used to be a musician years ago, and yeah, the first time you get up there, it's daunting, and then after that, it's the first bracket's a bit daunting. Then after that's the first song's a bit daunting, and after that you get used to it. Anyway, Stage Fright. And it's an Italian version. However, it was made I think it was dubbed into English, but it's a good dubbing. It looks so believable, and actually, I don't think it's all dubbed because half the actors had Anglo names and some had Italian names, so it might have been a mixture.
Yeah, it could have been a mixture of Americanized actors.
Well, it was an Italian film, I just said. Didn't say an Italian-American collaboration, but it looks like there might have been some Americans or English-speaking people in it. So there might have been, like, when Clint Eastwood went to Spain to do The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and those spaghetti westerns.
That's true.
He was speaking in English, and all the other guy, and I think Eli Wallach was speaking in English, and Lee Van Cleef was speaking English, and I think all the other people were speaking in Spanish, or very bad English. Had to be dubbed.
Well,
anyway,
English.
Irrespective. 1987 Italian slasher film. I like the European style, don't you? Yeah. They got a way about, and Italians like horror movies.
Yeah. Only recently we met a guy who was a special effects makeup artist guy, and he told us, Chad Atkinson,
Atkinson.
Well, it's spelled like the Rowan Atkinson.
Okay, yeah.
So
Chad Atkinson, yeah.
Okay. And he told us about how Eli Roth would often give his makeup artist people DVDs of Italian-related movies to
like the Dario
watch
Argento sort of stuff and things like that, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The Italian stuff
They got a way about
They have a way about them. They, unlike America, America's
different style.
It have a different style because in this one, it gives off an interesting aura behind it.
That's it, atmosphere, and aura, yeah. Anyway, here we go. I'll go for my usual thingy-wingies. Okay, there we go. Produced by, crikey, Aristide Massachesi, whatever, and Donatella Donati. Okay, that's produced by. Directed by Michel Sauvé, S-O-A-V-I. Written by Lou Cooper, English speaking, Anglo name, and Sheila Goldberg. That sounds Jewish, so it could be Jewish American or Jewish English or whatever. Anyway, the actors, the players, if you will. Okay, the cast.
Yeah.
It was like a Stevens. It wasn't what do you call it? A cast of thousands.
And
Just to be the middle job.
And as Mike would point out to you all these guys, the whole entire people are cannon fodder.
Actually, yeah, this is a real slasher movie because hardly anyone's left standing at the end.
Except for
one girl. Final girl.
And one other guy who does not really have any interest to
he's like a stage manager guy who just came back in later on and found out, ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Okay, Barbara Carpizzi plays Alicia. David Brandon plays Peter. Mary Sellers plays Laurel. Robert Gligorov plays Danny. Joanne Smith plays Sybil. Giovanni Lombardo Radice plays Brett. I can say some of the names. Right, okay. I'll do a couple more. Martin Phillips plays Mark. Piero Vida plays Ferrari. He's a financier, backer type guy. And I will drop down here because I will drop down to James Sampson as Willie. Now he is the
He's the
antagonist, but yeah, I think is it. We got Willie? No.
No,
no,
not.
Willie's
Willie's
the dark fellow. Yeah. Now,
the,
Irving Wallace. Yeah, Clayne Parker is Irving Wallace.
Yeah. He was the guy who Willie was just the guy who's the guy we mentioned, obviously.
But here's something: Irving Wallace is actually played by two people. Clayne Parker is when he doesn't have a mask on. And Luigi Montefiore as the masked version of him. So a bit like with Michael Myers and different people. Some had two people playing them and stuff. And
yeah, I did the same thing when we did our own my own slasher, web series. I had several stand-ins for my slasher killer. Obviously, I won't go into details, but there was quite a few. And the person who was playing that said the big reveal. Well, I won't reveal his identity because it's not. I'm not going to tell you as of yet.
No, it hasn't been released yet.
No, but I'm following their example. Trying to use other types of people to continue the story by using stand-ins along the way in case we are short a person on set.
Exactly, and so you can do a fill-in sort of thing.
Yeah, it may be a pain to the lead actor sometimes, but other than that, there's not very much dialogue when you think about when you're doing a slasher, except for if you look at Stage Fright 2014. There, he was not stripped of any words when you think of that one.
No, he talked a lot.
He did speak a lot. But anyway,
it wasn't the same film. It wasn't a remake. It wasn't a reboot. It wasn't anything. It was just a similar theme.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I do think this one's a good one because it's got that interesting look to it.
You want to talk about it?
Sure.
He's going to tell the story now.
So the story opens with our characters who are sort of rehearsing this play of theirs, sort of a glam rock type play, if you will. I think maybe
something like that.
Where you use vibrant colors, vibrant imagery, violent lighting, stuff like that. And it's mostly about a night owl, stalker who killing people.
It's a fictional mass murderer known as the night owl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny that, eh?
While rehearsing, our lead character, what's her name? Our final girl, what's her name? Alicia. She develops a pain in her leg, and she decides to go with a friend to a mental hospital to get some painkillers, or at least or something to fix up her leg temporarily, like a show.
Yeah, a nut house to go get outpatient's job.
Of course, she doesn't inform the director, Peter. He gets annoyed.
She just sneaks out.
Yeah. Anyway, this takes place late at night, raining, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they head out, and there we see at the mental institute, a man wheeled on a gurney to his room. He's a very deranged,
psychopathic tied down securely.
They said something about him being an ex-actor or sorts, maybe gone berserk, crazy, and he has been responsible for murders. Of course, Alicia sees him in his cell, and of course, one of the orderlies says, "Keep away from him. He's a very deranged fella."
And he was. Ooh.
Anyway, she gets her painkillers, and we later see as they go past that the killer, what's his name? Wallace?
Yep, Wallace.
Yes. He disappears, and the orderly is lying in his bed, tied down. I should mention when he broke one of the arm
retaining
restraints.
Strap. Yeah, he's very strong. Yeah, nutty people can sometimes get this extra human strength from adrenaline pumping through the system or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, soon enough they head back to the theatre, and of course Alicia's told her by the director that giving her marching orders, telling her
because you're left here without my knowledge, and you can't just come and go. So we'll put your understudy in. Mm-hmm. It's a bit rude.
It was rude, and the understudy is really not a nice person. And I'm kind of glad she gets killed off later on. To be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway,
mean girl.
Yes. So anyway, the one of the girls that is still outside, and she gets attacked by the killer, and she's later discovered by Alicia.
Let's flip this back a little bit. Alicia and a girl called Betty.
Betty
Drove Alicia to the nut house.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Alicia came back in, and Betty was going to come in, and then she realised she left something in the car, or the lights were on, but she went back out to the car.
Uh-huh.
And then Betty didn't come back in.
Yeah. Alicia eventually finds her body, and she tells the director and the people, and then they call the police.
Yeah.
Unlike in other movies where they just say, or not really, they just ignore it, or the body disappears, or they don't believe her, the usual stuff. But in this case, they bring in the police, and while they were telling them that we'll put a guard outside instead of inside with them, but something simple, something basic, the usual. I'm not telling them how to run a production.
So obviously the nut stuck into the car when they were inside. Mm-hmm. I usually lock my car.
Yeah, I should mention, guys, the Alicia and Betty, they were given a special backdoor key.
By the stage manager.
And they left it in a little teeny gap in the brickwork.
Near the back door.
Yeah, and the killer took it, obviously.
Well, now we can come and go as he likes, can't he?
Yes.
But he can lock them in too.
Anyway, Peter, the director, decides to rename the killer as the guy who's stalking the killer.
Well, they got to make it a real life killer. Sort of musical now. They got to make it based on a real killer. See, very topical.
Yeah, very topical. Even though when you think about this sort of thing, it could end in a crapper. When you think about
it might. It didn't go anywhere, did it? No. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, while of course Alicia is about to try to head off, of course, but she notices the door is fastened, locked, meaning the back door is locked. And anyway, while the other actors are on stage, they call out to the guy wearing the bird, mask, obviously, and the director tells him where to go, obviously, and eventually he starts killing the girl in the scene, obviously. And she's, I think, also not only an actress, but she was also given the keys to hid them away.
A key to, they lock themselves in so they wouldn't get disturbed, and to protect them from anyone coming in. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, you need a key to get out too.
And of course, Peter tells them to hide the key,
so none of the cast tries to sneak out.
Yeah. Anyway, so quickly, Alicia goes to the director and tells him that the killer is still in the place, but of course he's not paying attention. He's directing, and he watches as the killer in the mask starts really seriously taking out a knife and stabbing into the girl.
We'll take it back a little bit. There was a guy, I can't remember his name, which one it was. He was supposed to be dressed up as in whatever costume and an owl mask.
An owl mask, yeah. He was
a full mask over the head, front and back. And they thought the guy coming on the stage was the actor who had already been killed by Mr. Wallace.
Yeah. The interesting thing was he was trying to find his costume, but he couldn't find it, and his boss and Peter, the director, tells him, "Go and find the spare one."
Yeah, the back one. Oh, he found that one, but guess who was wearing the real one?
And guess who killed him?
Okay.
Anyway, eventually, the girl on stage gets killed, and the director thinks, "Oh, this is passionate and real and stuff," but it turns out that the girl is really dying, and the actual stalker, Wallace, quickly, gets away, obviously. And of course, as she's slowly dying, they try to use the front door, but the front door is locked. It's like a very heavy, metal door.
It's a heavy metal door type thing, where it has
seriously.
like a house key, you're not one of those big chunky keys, little slender key, which you need to open up a deadlock. Yeah.
Anyway, the policemen are outside, and they don't know what's going on inside, obviously, and all that stuff. And before you ask me, no, they don't get killed off, unlike in the other movies where in the past the policemen get knocked off, but in this one, nope. They just are not in the know, obviously, in this case. So, anyway, they realize that they're in danger, and they try to coax the dying girl's last moments where she hid the key. Yeah, exactly.
Didn't help, no.
No. Anyway, shaking didn't help, and threatening her didn't help.
I'll sack you if you don't tell me. No, that's
no.
Not
anyway,
work, is it? No.
They then all try to. They all decide to stick together, obviously, but this doesn't work really well.
Nah.
So they head into the dressing room, and of course, Peter, who tries to be in charge, obviously, and he tries to find he goes with another guy to look for a skeleton key.
Yep.
Which allows you to access any door in the place.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Of course, they go down to the place where it's kept, and while they're there, they hear a turning of the lock or turning of the thingy wing. Oh, I should mention, one of the other actors starts blaming Alicia for him to be here, but it's not her fault that she went to a mental institute and took some painkillers for her leg and stuff like that. I mean, a dancer's life is hard. Anyone's life.
Exactly.
Dancing is hard, obviously. Anyway.
So's the floor.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the door squeaks, and they all try to force the door closed as much as possible. But then, one of the boys who was leaning against it with his back, a drill starts coming through his gut.
Not bad, yeah. You had this electric drill that had this big auger on the end of it, one like a big corkscrew type one. And it went straight through the door and straight through his spine and straight out his chest or lower back. Lower chest, abdomen, somewhere. But yeah, it came straight through. He wasn't happy chappy.
No, he wasn't. Anyway, he dies, and the girls continue keeping the door closed as they go along. Of course, eventually Peter and the guy return, and they find, what's he dead, and they realize that they must get some weapons to protect themselves against this guy, obviously. So they head down to the, the workshop where they keep the tools and stuff, and manage to get a few odds and sods to, like an axe and maybe a few like screwdrivers, not the serious drinking kind. Right there.
Someone's trying to be funny.
Anyway, seriously. So they soon find him on the, what do they call it? The thing where they do the ropes and curtains.
Yeah, up the top there.
I don't know.
The catwalk's a thing down the bottom. I can't remember what the thing up the top is. Where they,
I think it's called a catwalk too. I think maybe. Anyway, they go up there and they try to find him, and of course they find someone that looks like he's wearing the costume, but it turns out it was the dead actor who was meant to do that costume.
He had the second costume on, and he'd been tied up in the corner. Yeah. And Peter went chop, and actor took the mask off. They found out one of his own troupe.
Yeah.
Oops.
Anyway, yeah.
Sorry about that. My mistake. Oh my goodness gracious me.
Yeah. Soon enough, this part it goes really fast, guys. So far, almost except for Alicia, in one scene she gets kind of falls down and hits her head. The rest of the other people get knocked off one by one, obviously, very fast, and I won't reveal what in order, obviously. But she remains to be the last one standing, and she starts trying to find a way out, obviously. And of course, we find out that the key, or one of the keys, is lodged into a piece of the wood on the stage. Crack in the stage.
That's one thing that bugs me. When you're on the stage, you've got these cracks which might be about 5 mils wide or something rather. You don't, as far as I'm aware, you don't have stage with big cracks in them. Yeah. But whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, the deaths are very grisly, and of course she tries to be very quiet and tries to get the key, all the while avoiding the killer, obviously.
And he's sitting down in a chair just playing with his pussy.
So you guys know there's a cat that was wandering through this production that was called Lucifer.
A little black pussy. He's so cute. It belongs to Willie, the stage manager, I think.
Yeah, he was looking for it earlier when he was outside.
Willie was looking for his pussy, right? Okay,
Don't go there.
Yeah.
No worries. We heard this joke before, didn't we, folks?
Sorry.
Anyway, so
Sorry.
she avoids him as much as possible, and she also finds a gun, possibly inside one of the drawers, obviously.
Yeah, in the office or somewhere. Yeah.
Yes, and of course, when she's about to shoot the guy, the gun is on a safety mechanism, as if they were going to let it, as if it was going to be, they're pretty much these guns are meant to be on safety when they're not being used.
Should do, so it doesn't go off accidentally.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, she climbs to the scaffold, the top part again, and while she tries to fight this creep off, obviously, but eventually she knocks him and he falls and he grabs onto a wire, I think it was, and she starts using the axe to
cut through the wire. Yeah, it's
so
a high tension cable. Yeah.
She starts cutting through it, and eventually he slumps and lands onto the stage, and she
thinks he's dead.
And she thinks he's dead. He's not moving, so she creepily creeps towards the entrance, but he suddenly wakes up again, obviously, and this time she takes a big barrel and
in the theatre they had these big oil drums,
whatever they call them,
44-gallon drums, whatever they are, and they had fires going in, probably he keep the room warm. Mm-hmm. And as he spills this over the prostrate body of Mr. Wallace lying on the ground.
Yeah, and
he wasn't happy. No.
As he stumbles, he moves around, and then he crumbles onto the stage while Alicia gets her key, and then unlocks the door, and she heads to the police car that's there. Much later on, we see more policemen there and reporters, the news vans, stuff like that. And they're all asking her how she survived and did she knew the killer? How did she survive? Blah, blah, blah. All those kind of lame, boring questions. So she doesn't say anything. She's still recovering from the shock from the whole experience. So she heads to the hospital. She's looked over. She's released. But she realized her favorite gold watch. She left at the
it fell off her wrist when she's up on the upper catwalks. Yeah.
She heads back there and takes a taxi back to the place. And here, you said something before to me in the scene. Why did that taxi driver up and leave in the scene?
Well, we're probably going to call out for another fare, probably. But yeah, I would say, hey, hang on a minute, I'm back.
Stay for
5 minutes, and I'll just go in and out. Yeah.
She then meets Willie, and he tells her that while he would be glad to let her in, but he's told this is a crime scene, and
she's not supposed to be in, but he let her in to get a watch.
Yeah. So he unlocks the front door, and he allows her in, and he's talking non-stop about how he knew the gun would have been on safety, and he would have shot the guy very easily.
He was waffling on a bit, and then he made a comment and says, yeah, and the police have got 8 bodies, and rah-rah, and she's going, wait a minute, 8 bodies? If you start thinking about it, there should be 9 bodies.
We see the special cards. The cards that say 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Or this one's case, it has
a body was found there and a body was found there and stuff. Yeah.
The cards here have letters on it.
Maybe their initials or
the first
whatever.
Initial or something. Anyway, she starts remembering the places where the bodies were positioned.
And who was there, and one's missing.
Yeah.
We wonder who, don't we?
Then we see the killer in his full form behind her, and then Willie shoots him in the head, forehead.
Right between the eyes. Now, I'll mention something about this in a minute, yeah.
Yes. Willie goes on about how he shot the guy right between the eyes. See, I could do it, all that stuff. Wow. And he continues saying the same line.
He was traumatized. He was never shot anybody before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was so shocked. Yeah.
He was just shaken as much as Alicia was. Anyway, she takes the remains of her watch. It got damaged, but I imagine if you go to a local watchworks, maybe they'll fix it up for her.
I think the strap was broken, whatever.
Yeah,
because I fell off the scaffolding.
I think
catwalk when it was up there.
I think the glass thingy,
and the chain,
the glass bit that where the tick tock was damaged too.
The glass
so that can be easily fixed.
That can be all fixed up. But
anyway, she heads out, and and then we kind of pan onto the dead body of the guy with the hole in his head, and we see him looking at the camera, breaking the fourth wall, and giving the camera a small smirk.
Having apparently survived a headshot straight between the eyes.
Yeah.
Now, really.
He survived a gunshot wound right between the eyes.
It looked like a Colt 45 automatic or something, brother. Yeah, hello,
yeah,
guys.
as I was saying, how he would survive such a thing like this, I will never know.
45, but
Because people would tell me that gunshot wounds to the head, you cannot walk away from them.
Not normally.
Unlike other movies where we see people...
Unless it doesn't have a brain.
Unlike other movies where you see people shoot wildly, the bullets, so sometimes, and most of the time they may miss. But other times they may reach one of the organs, maybe the lungs, the heart, or whatever. Not important at this point. Anyway. But most of the time, I keep wondering whether or not these killers would often wear a straight jacket, one of those bulletproof vests things.
Whatever, not for his head. But
that's what I mean. I mean, he was shot in the head. There's no way of time for reaction.
And straight between the eyes. It wasn't a graze on the side of the head.
Yeah.
So
if it was a graze on the side of the head, maybe that would make a difference.
But it was a Colt. I remember that was a Colt. It looked like a Colt.
Maybe it was just part of the blooper reel thingy.
The actors director want to keep it. It was supposed to be. It's part of it. He's not really dead.
Anyway, then the credits roll,
and
that's it.
Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees.
True. But then again, as we said, there was no sequel that came out. The remake is not a sequel, so don't bother actually asking me, is that a sequel?
No. It's not Stage Fright 2 or whatever. The kiddies version. Whatever.
I do think that the glam rock look is kind of cool. It does make me think of all the 80s era, like all the interesting colours and effects they've used back in the day, and it was very creative when you think about it. And it makes me think of Rick Baker when he worked on he worked on the the Thriller in Michael Jackson. That's the sort of thing that makes me think of that. Anyway, so let's dive into the other stuff we need to discuss about this movie. So, Mike, do you have anything to discuss about?
Little bits. We were talking earlier on, before we started the podcast, that Dario Argento sort of had something to do with this.
Yeah, he had a finger in it.
We had two fingers, maybe. Now, there was the guy, Michel Sauvé, the person, was a protege of Dario Argento.
Ooh.
So what actually happened is, I believe, somehow or other, Michel Sauvé was given the opportunity to direct this movie. He didn't feel he was ready, but of course he said yes. And when the opportunity arises, take it. It may not come again. So he took it and did a reasonably good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, 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 blah. Now, Stage Fright was released in 1987. I'll talk about that a bit later on too. When you're looking for it on from your usual retailers. It was also released outside of Italy as Bloody Bird.
Nah, we're not
No, I haven't seen the name. And Aquarius. Why Aquarius? I have no freaking idea.
We actually, when we were getting a copy of this, it had two names on it.
I know, it had the Italian name, Deliria, and Stage Fright. However, critical response, not a lot. However, it was the main comment is that it's mainly aimed at a horror audience, but as a horror audience, it would be appreciated for its content. How's that?
Well, it's meant to be a horror audience.
Well, it's a slasher movie.
Not a drama.
It wasn't Naughty and Big Ears or something or other, or Krusty the Clown Goes to Hollywood or something.
Yeah.
Now, getting back onto the date, because I normally talk about product a bit later on, but when you go looking for this, when you're going on Amazon, it's got some of the listings there. It's 1989, not 87.
No, that would be a pain.
No, it's probably because that particular release came out. So what happened is probably it came out on VHS, and later on it came out as a DVD. And that's now I don't know when DVDs came out. I don't think didn't think they came out that early, but they may have.
That'll be.
So maybe the DVD came out in 89. Don't know. Having said that, it is for rent on Amazon and for sale. eBay has it for sale. But remember, here we go again. There's a 1950s version of Marlene Dietrich and other people in it. There's a 2014 version, which we might talk about next time. And there's a 2020 movie thingy called, believe it or not, Stage Fright. Be careful when you go hunting. You get Stage Fright. It may have a bird mask type thing on the cover, people screaming and yelling, and maybe an axe or whatever. Yeah. But if you go into a bit, Michael Sauvé, S-O-A-V-I, is the director. Main actor is David Brandon and Barbara Gabizzi. Okay, so you see those names hanging around? You got the right one.
Yeah, guys, be cautious when it comes to finding these movies.
Yeah, I've heard so many times people say, I ordered this movie and they sent me the wrong one. No, you ordered the wrong one. You didn't read what you were buying. You just guessed it. So, yeah, not you guys. You guys are really good, but it's the people the universal you, people don't look closely all the time. So, yeah.
It's the same with some people who don't look closely at a movie and see its potential. Some people don't see potential. They see, they just scoff at it most of the time, and we don't scoff. We try to look for things we like about it.
We look at various movies, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We look crappy ones. I mean, crappy ones, not really, really, really bad ones. Don't want to bother. But yeah, ones which didn't rate very good with the box offices and the critics and stuff. But we try to find redeeming qualities in them because, I mean, someone has done a labour of love there, director, the writer, the actors, whatever, trying to make something. And if there's some good redeeming qualities in it, we'll give it a go, and we won't bag them too much because it's really hard to make a successful, fresh movie with the right energy and the right skill level all the time. Even the big studios don't get it right all the time. Yeah. So, we try to be fair.
All's fair in love and filmmaking.
Exactly. Now, you want to say anything else? I can't say much. I got nothing else to talk about, really.
Yeah, anyway, I do think this movie's worth watching, guys, and the fact... It's very interesting, especially the fact that it's the story, the plot is very basic and not to you must look into every single aspect about him and whether or not he has a connection to the actors, exactly right. Or does he have a connection to everyone else?
It was just the guy had in the nut house was a nut, obviously, hot psychopath, who used to be an actor who went crazy. Yeah. And he went on a killing spree, and he was in the nut house, and then he escaped the nut house and just happened to get in the car of the actors going back to the
theatre.
The theatre to do their rehearsals, and they got locked in. That's it. That's your backstory. Finished. Yeah. Let's get on. Let the killings begin. Yeah. That's it. So you don't need a backstory.
I did think of the fact that the part which interests me the most was the fact the policemen outside, they didn't get killed off like they often do in these movies. Instead, they just left as unreliable witnesses.
Well, they didn't know what was going on because they were sitting out in the car and it was peeing down raining. Yes. Now, they were sitting in the car. There's rain on the car, smattering on the roof. The theatre, I think it was it was metal on the outside.
Yeah, there was
metal door. So it was sitting on a tin roof and whatever, and that would have been making a lot of noise around them. So any noise inside the theatre, they wouldn't have heard squat. No.
Yeah, well, if you heard a lot of pitter-patter, pitter-patter.
The pitter-patter little feet running around inside, they didn't hear. They heard pitter-patter of the rain. Yeah. The cats and dogs coming down.
Yeah. See, as Mike said, not to mention, during rainstorms, you get other noises like a lot of maybe lightning, and sometimes you may get a few like dead branches may hit the roof of
trees rustling and stuff and different things, and
sometimes some of those tree branches will break and then they kind of hit the roof, depending on what building you're referring to.
Yeah, so all those things. So they couldn't hear anything going on inside the theatre. Yeah. So these people were not safe. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it would have been the good idea for the police to actually have a few police patrolling the studio.
I would have been if I was the police. I would have been inside where it was nice and dry.
Well, that's what I think too. But I'm just saying that if a killer was running a ruse, what makes you think that he may have just already entered while you guys were bringing out a dead body? Yeah. You may not even notice him.
But the point, if they were inside after that, maybe they would have been able to shoot him before he killed everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you're probably wondering why, after they, the whole part with the why did the actors didn't leave when they found that the first body was being dragged out?
Excuse me.
But the director, he just says we're going to continue working hard tonight.
Well, he said once the first body was killed, first person was killed. He said, we're going to redo the story and make it real, based on a real occurrence. He said now we have to go into hyperdrive to rehearse the changes he's going to bring into the stage play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So had to work really hard, so he locked them in.
Yeah, so rating time, seeing as we don't have anything else to say.
Honestly, I like European, especially Italian, but I like European films.
Same here.
Because they got a European way about them. It's different, and to me it comes over as simple but honest. Is that the right way to put it?
I think that's a better term.
Yeah, and it just comes out as a nice, fresh product. It's no pretense, no false pretenses, no look at us, we're trying to do that and run around ever decreasing circles and whatever. They try to tell a bit of a story and make a damn fine movie out of what they've got. And they've done well. I don't know how much they spent on this one. I don't know the budget or the box office, so can't tell you anything, but I would say it wasn't a really expensive movie to make, but it might well have made good at box office because Italians like this sort of stuff, and it did go global.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It became a cult classic, as I understand.
It may be a cult classic, but it had a good feel to it, and I'm going to give it 8.5.
I'm going to give it. I'm going to be very generous at this point because I always love European movies, especially ones done in Europe, if they're done correctly, and if they have the right mood, right lighting, and the right music, for that matter.
Yeah, music makes the movie. Oh, actually, I'll say music, like the ordinary music score, and the atmos, that sort of stuff behind it, that sort of stuff. You take all that away, it takes a lot away from the movie. You notice it when it's not there.
Yeah. So I'm basing my decision on the fact that this movie, don't find any faults with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to rate it 10 out of 10.
Whoa, there you go.
Yes.
Cool.
So that's everything we know about this movie. So now it's up to you guys to actually go out and actually watch it or buy it or hire it or both.
You can rent it through Amazon, or you can buy it through eBay and Amazon, or maybe one of your other streaming services or whatever, or other places you go to, yada, yada,
or if you don't belong to a streaming service like Netflix or Shudder, you can actually go on YouTube. They probably will have a special hiring or rent or buying, you
do have some of those places on YouTube. There you go. Join our thingy for a small fee. You can watch a movie, so it might be cheaper than Amazon.
If you're already part of Google Mail, you can actually be able to access any movies you want, especially the popular ones, through YouTube, provided you pay a teeny weeny small fee.
Yeah, so there you go. So whatever you choose to do, but anyway, remember Stage Fright. It's a 1987, but in Amazon's got it as 1989. But there's no other movies around that period with that name. So
that's a relief.
Well, we've had some movies. We had two movies, same name, same year. That makes it really hard.
That is a nightmare.
Wasn't the Titanic one of the Titanic movies done away? Had the English one and the American one at the same time? Or something? Or
Oh, no, I think that was you. I think you were...
That's one of the Titanic things. One was a TV version, one was something else. And
I think you're referring to the Dracula movie, Mike.
Oh, Dracula, yeah. I knew
where Hammer Productions were making their own Dracula movie.
Yeah, that's right.
The first one. And
that's right, yeah.
at the same time, they made a TV movie that was black and white in America.
That's right, yeah. I knew it was somewhere.
And
Dracula, Titanic, same thing.
Not really. The Titanic was a natural disaster. Dracula is a fantasy gothic.
Who said it was a fantasy? I believe he has existed. Vlad the Impaler, Vad Tepes.
Although, as I said before in the past, you are going to get lots of movies out there that have the same name and may, cause you to try to figure out where to find these movies. Even though it's not difficult to actually spot this one, because if you look at the cover, you'll see the killer wearing this very big owl mask, and wearing all black, and either carrying an axe or a chainsaw. You carried a lot of stuff in this one.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Anyway, you want to kill it?
Oh yeah, sure thing.
Pardon the pun.
So guys, that's about it from us. I love this movie, and I hope you guys actually check it out and let us know in the comments what you guys think of it, as usual. So, that's about it from us, guys. So, this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying, see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.